The first time my daughter understood that grown-ups could be cruel on purpose. She was sitting at our kitchen table with her spelling worksheet flat in front of her and a purple pencil tucked behind one ear. She should have been asking me how to spell butterfly. Instead, she lifted her little phone with both hands and asked, "Mom, what does lowly mean?" My hand stopped inside her lunchbox. For a second, the whole kitchen went quiet. The hum of the fridge, the plastic lid in my fingers, Junie's small face waiting for mine to tell her whether this word was dangerous. My name is Elena Waverly. I was 31 then, a single mother, and for 8 years I had learned how to swallow pain before it reached my daughter. Junie was only 8. She turned the screen toward me as if the phone might break if she moved too fast. It was a screenshot from a family group chat, a chat I had never been added to. The name at the top read, Garrett's 60th birthday weekend. My father's birthday. Everyone had been invited. My mother, my brother Nolan, my sister Tessa, my younger brother Callum, cousins, in-laws, people who only showed up at Christmas dinners and funerals. Everyone except me, and except Junie. Then I saw my father's message. All my children have brought honor to this family except Elena. She chose to be a lowly single mother. I no longer see her as my daughter. Under it, Nolan had agreed. Tessa had written, "Let's not make Dad's birthday about Elena's drama." My mother had sent a heart. Callum had tapped a thumbs up. Then deleted it, too late. Junie watched me closely. Did Grandpa mean me too? I wanted to say no so badly my chest hurt. Instead, I pulled out the chair beside her and took her hand. Lowly, I told her, is a word people use when they want someone else to feel small. Her eyes fell back to the screen. I turned the phone face down. "Go brush your teeth," I whispered. "Pick the dragon book. I'll be there in a minute." When she left the kitchen, I looked at that screenshot again. Something inside me did not break. It closed. My father had not just left me out of his birthday. He had written down the price of being loved by him. And the only question I had left was this: what happens when the daughter he erased becomes the one person he needs most? This original story is written for Revenge Pulse and inspired by familiar family conflicts to encourage reflection, healing, and human understanding. It is not a depiction of any real individual. After Junie fell asleep, I sat alone in the kitchen with the lights turned low and my phone resting in my palm. I called my mother first. A small, foolish part of me still hoped she would pick up and say, "Your father was angry. He went too far. He didn't mean it." Mabel answered on the 4th ring. "Elena." She breathed, as if my name had arrived carrying trouble. I did not dress the question up. "Mom, did you see what he wrote?" The line went still. Then she answered in a tired, careful voice. "I saw it. I just didn't want to ruin his birthday." That landed harder than my father's message. Because he had thrown the stone, she had watched it hit me before I could answer. Another call came through. Nolan. I ended the call with my mother and picked up. He did not waste breath on an apology. Dad just wants one peaceful night. He told me, he's turning 60. Don't turn this into drama. I looked down the hallway toward Junie's closed door. He already had peace. I answered. He just wrote down the price. Nolan sighed like I was the difficult one. Miles never should have sent that screenshot. There it was. They were not angry that my father had called me lowly. They were angry that my child had seen it. Then Tessa texted, "Every choice has consequences. Elena, you can't expect everyone to pretend yours didn't affect the family." I stared at those words and remembered every quiet thing I had done for them. Weekend payroll for Dad's construction company. Vendor invoices spread across my kitchen table. Insurance forms after his bookkeeper quit. Cash flow sheets rebuilt after midnight while Junie burned with fever on the couch beside me. But in public, Garrett only had 3 children worth mentioning. Nolan the lawyer, Tessa in real estate, Callum, the good son. Not me. I did not write a long reply. I did not defend myself paragraph by paragraph. I saved the screenshot in a private folder. Then I blocked my father, Nolan, and Tessa. I left my mother unblocked, but muted. After that, I emailed Junie's school. No member of the Waverly family was allowed to pick up, visit, or contact my daughter without my written permission. That night, I did not go to my father's birthday. But I kept his words. And one day, those words would come looking for him. My father's birthday dinner happened that Saturday in the private room of a steakhouse downtown. I knew because I did not have to search for it. Someone sent it to me. A woman from church. One of the kind ones who always looked sorry but never knew what to say. Messaged me a photo with 6 simple words. I'm sorry. I thought you should know. In the picture, Garrett Waverly stood in the middle of the room with the glass lifted high. His silver hair was combed back. His dark jacket fit perfectly. He looked like the sort of father people trusted before they ever heard his children tell the truth. Behind him were balloons, candles, framed photos, and a long table covered in white linen. Every seat had a name card. Mabel, Nolan, Tessa, Callum, the cousins, the spouses. Even relatives I had not seen since a Thanksgiving years before. There was no card for me, no card for Junie, next to my mother. One chair sat empty, pushed in tight, like it was waiting for someone more acceptable than me. Tessa had already posted the picture. All of Dad's family gathered to honor the man who built us. I read that line twice. Then another video came through. My father stood at the head of the room, giving a toast about family honor, legacy, and children who carried the Waverly name well. People clapped. My siblings smiled. Nobody shifted in their seat. Nobody corrected him. Nobody said my name. Junie came up beside me before I could close the tablet. Why does Grandpa say all family if we're not there? I turned the screen off. Sometimes, I told her, people leave someone out and still call the picture complete. Later that night, Nolan posted that Dad had stood behind every child. I almost laughed. Instead, I opened my laptop. A small grocery owner needed help fixing late payroll. So I worked. At the top of a notebook, I wrote 2 words. Table light systems. While my father toasted his perfect family, I started building a life he could not uninvite me from. 3 years passed. But my mornings still began almost the same way. Junie's lunchbox on the counter, the electric bill beside the coffee maker, client notes open on my old laptop, a calendar packed with names, deadlines, school reminders, and tiny spaces where sleep should have been. Junie was 11 now, taller, sharper, and old enough to notice when I smiled with tired eyes. Table light systems grew slowly at first. In the beginning, it was just me making simple spreadsheets for small shops that were losing money without knowing where it went. Then it became invoices, payment schedules, payroll cleanup, grant forms, and little systems that helped people stop drowning in their own paperwork. I understood small businesses because my life had always felt like one. Too little time, too little money, no room for careless mistakes, and a child depending on me to think one step ahead. Junie became my first believer. One rainy Tuesday, she stuck a note to the corner of my laptop. Kitchen tables count too. I kept it there until the paper curled at the edges. While I was building, Garrett was slipping. Waverly & Sons lost 2 major contracts that winter. Then an inspection found messy labor files and late payments he had not told anyone about. To the family, he blamed the market. To himself, I think he called it bad luck, because that sounded better than mismanagement. Nolan helped him apply to the Holt Civic Recovery Fund, a local program meant to help struggling businesses stay open. My father filled the application with beautiful words. Family-centered company, built on supporting working parents, a legacy of standing behind family. He thought those words would save him. What he did not know was that Holt's review model had been built from my table light system. He also did not know I had been asked to advise the final review. Garrett was trying to rescue his company with the image of a perfect father. And the one person who could confirm that image was the daughter he had erased. The invitation from Holt Civic Recovery Fund came on a Monday morning. Adrian Holt wanted me to speak at their annual event. Table Light had helped more than 80 small businesses steady their books, pay people on time, and keep their doors open for one more season. I read the email twice, then turned the laptop toward Junie. She grinned like I had won a crown. 2 days later, my mother called from a number I did not know. I almost let it ring out. Elena, Mabel murmured when I answered. Her voice had gone soft in that careful way people use when they want something. Your father is not well. He misses you. I looked at the old note still taped to my laptop. Kitchen tables count too. What does he miss, I asked. Me. Or being able to say I'm still his daughter. She had no answer for that. An hour later, Nolan's email arrived. It would help everyone if you confirmed there is no family conflict before the review board meets. There it was. Not love. Not regret. Paperwork. Tessa texted next, saying 3 years was a long time, and grown people should know when to put family first. Callum only wrote, I'm sorry about how things happened. I did not answer any of them. Instead, I opened the private folder and looked at the screenshot again. Not to feed the hurt. To remind myself I had not imagined it. That afternoon, Adrian called. Elena. Waverly and Sons listed several statements about family values and supporting working mothers. Since you share the name, is there anything the independent board should know? My throat tightened. I told her I had a family connection and needed to remove myself from that part of the review. Adrian paused. Is there documentation the board should consider without your involvement? I thought of Junie at 8 years old, asking, did Grandpa mean me too? Then I attached the screenshot. My note was one line. I'm recusing myself. The board can decide what that statement says about his community values. For 3 years, my father's words had stayed in my phone. Now they were walking into the room where his honor would be measured. I was not in the room when the board reviewed Waverly and Sons. I made sure of that. Adrian sent me one short message before the meeting began. You're fully recused. The independent board will handle it. So I closed my laptop, packed Junie's lunch for the next day, and tried not to picture my father's application sitting on a conference table under bright white lights. But I knew what was in it. Garrett had not simply asked for help. He had built a story around himself, a family-centered company, a man who supported working parents, a business that stood behind young mothers. And Nolan, careful Nolan, had written the cleanest lie of all. Garrett Waverly has always stood behind his daughter as a young working mother. That line was the one that turned the room cold. Adrian later told me they did not judge him for being a bad father. That was not their job. They judged the application. And the application had used a false picture of family values to gain trust. My screenshot did not shout. It did not beg. It just sat there. Dated, clear, and impossible to soften. All my children have brought honor to this family except Elena, lowly single mother. I no longer see her as my daughter. By noon, Waverly and Sons was flagged for inconsistent information. The board paused the file, requested verification, and removed the company from the first public announcement. At the same time, Garrett was getting dressed for the event. He had already told 2 old partners he expected good news. Nolan and Tessa were coming with him, polished and ready to look like a loyal family. Then Nolan got the email. I heard later that my father slammed his hand on the kitchen counter. Who did this? Nolan did not answer. But at the event, when Garrett opened the program and saw my name listed as the keynote speaker, he stopped asking. He looked toward the stage. I stepped into the light. And for the first time, the daughter he had called lowly was standing exactly where his honor had to answer for itself. The Holt Civic Recovery Fund event was held in the largest community hall downtown. It was the kind of room my father loved. High ceiling, warm lights, business owners in pressed jackets, local reporters near the side wall, donors shaking hands like every smile had value. I sat near the front with Junie. She wore a pale blue dress and kept one hand tucked inside her coat pocket. I knew what was in there before she showed me. The little note, kitchen tables count too. She carried it like a good luck charm. Then the room shifted. Garrett walked in with Mabel, Nolan, Tessa, and Callum behind him. They looked polished and careful, like a family photo trying to repair itself before anyone noticed the tear. My father started down the center aisle toward the front rows. A staff member stepped in gently with a tablet. Sir, those seats are reserved. Garrett straightened his back. I'm her father. The staffer checked the screen. Sir, family seating is reserved for approved guests. His jaw tightened. My name is Garrett Waverly. She looked again. Still calm. You're listed with general attendees. For 1 second, nobody moved. Mabel's face went red. Tessa glanced around to see who had heard. Nolan touched my father's arm and whispered something sharp. Probably don't make a scene. I did not turn around. Junie leaned closer. Mom, are you okay? I held her hand under the program. I'm okay, I whispered. We're exactly where we're supposed to be. They sat near the back. Then, Adrian walked to the podium and introduced me as the designer of the table light recovery model. The system that had helped local businesses protect jobs, payroll, and families. The room clapped, not politely, warmly. I felt my father's eyes on my back. For years, he had looked at me like I was a stain on the Waverly name. Now he had to watch a room full of people look at me like I had helped them keep theirs. He once believed leaving me out of a seat would make me smaller. That night, he sat in the back and watched my kitchen table become the stage. When I walked onto that stage, I did not look for my father first. I looked at the room, the bakery owner who had almost missed payroll twice, the woman who ran a daycare out of a rented storefront, the mechanic who used to keep receipts in a shoebox until we built him a system he could actually use. I knew those people. Not because I was above them, because I had been them. I used to think important things had to begin in important rooms. I began boardrooms, offices, places with glass doors and nameplates. The room quieted. But some people begin at kitchen tables, in garages, in shops after closing, in the back room while a child sleeps nearby. Junie looked up at me. I kept my voice steady. Some places get called small because other people don't know how much survival can fit inside them. Then I let the truth enter the room. 3 years ago, my father wrote that I was the only child who brought no honor to his family. He called me a lowly single mother and said he no longer saw me as his daughter. The silence changed. It became sharp. I did not read the entire screenshot. I did not need to. The wound had already shown itself. I kept that message. I continued. Not because I wanted revenge, but because my daughter deserved proof that shame is not the same thing as truth. Junie wiped her cheek. But she sat tall. Shame is not inherited, I told her, and everyone else who needed those words. And neither is cruelty. Then I smiled at my daughter. My daughter was the first person who believed our kitchen table could become something more. The applause started in one corner. A shop owner stood, then another. Soon the room was on its feet. My father could not leave without being seen. Tessa stared at the floor. Mabel cried into a napkin but did not come forward. Nolan kept looking at the email on his phone like the words might change if he stared hard enough. Afterward, people came to congratulate me. No one asked Garrett about family honor. That night, he did not lose face because I lied. He lost it because the truth finally spoke in a voice calmer than he deserved. A few days after the event, Waverly and Sons got the official notice. Their application would not be included in the first grant cycle. The board wanted answers about the false statements in their file. Nolan's letter, the one praising my father for standing behind his daughter, had been saved in the record. That part spread quietly. Not like gossip at first. More like people stepping back. 2 partners delayed calls. A supplier asked for payment sooner than usual. Someone Tessa knew asked, too sweetly, how I was doing these days. Mabel called 3 times. I did not answer. Callum sent a letter instead. Real paper, real ink. I was old enough to know better. I'm sorry I chose comfort over you. I read it twice, folded it, and put it in a drawer. Not the trash, not the table, not yet. That evening, the doorbell rang. Garrett stood on my porch with tired eyes and the same straight back he used when he wanted a room to obey him. His first words were not an apology. You made me look like a monster. I held the door with one hand. No, I answered. I let people hear your handwriting. His face tightened. Then he changed lanes, like he had come prepared with several versions of himself. He talked about the company, the workers, the family name, the years he had given to the town. You could call Adrian, he pressed. Tell her the family issue has been resolved. Has it? He looked away. For one clean second, the whole truth stood between us. Then he chose himself again. You owe this family one chance to fix it. I felt no explosion inside me, just a quiet door closing for good. You invited everyone to your birthday, except me and my 8-year-old. I told him. You wrote that I was no longer your daughter. You don't get to borrow me now because your reputation needs a daughter again. He stared at me as if I had taken something from him. I closed the door softly. Afterward, I did not feel like I had lost my father. I felt like I had returned him to the empty place he chose for me. After I closed the door, I did not look through the curtain to see if my father was still on the porch. I went back to the kitchen. Junie was at the table with her homework spread out beside my laptop and 3 new client folders. The same old table sat between us. One corner was scratched. One leg still had a little block of wood under it. Near my coffee mug, there was a pale ring I had scrubbed 100 times and never erased. For years, I thought that table looked like proof that I did not have enough. Now I saw it differently. It was where I read the cruelest message my father ever wrote. It was also where table light began. Junie reached into her backpack and pulled out a small cardboard sign. She had written the words in blue marker, "Kitchen tables count too." I set it beside my laptop. I did not tell her everything was fixed. That would have been a lie. Some wounds do not close just because the person who caused them finally needs you. So I only told her the truth. Some people need a big room to feel important. I murmured. We built a life right here. Junie looked toward the drawer where I had placed Callum's letter. Is Uncle Callum coming back? Maybe someday? I answered, but not yet. Why I touched the edge of the table? Because sorry is a doorbell, not a key. In the months after that, Garrett sold part of the company's equipment to cover debt. Mabel stopped calling after the school reminded her she was not on Junie's approved list. Nolan learned that polished words could still leave dirty fingerprints. Tessa kept posting family pictures. But now everyone noticed the space where Junie and I should have been. As for me, I kept working. Table light helped more people who had started small and been treated like small meant worthless. Single mothers, shop owners, caregivers, people building something honest from a corner table, a borrowed chair, a laptop with a cracked screen. And if this story stays with you, maybe look around your own life for the table you once felt ashamed of. Sometimes the place people mock is the very place where you learn how strong you are. If someone has ever tried to make you feel low for surviving, tell me in the comments, what was your kitchen table? What place, person, or small beginning helped you stand back up? I never got invited back to the Waverly table. I did not need to be. I had my own. And this time, no one got a seat there by hurting me.